Hey, what's up? This is Del Jones from the band PunkBordello, and you are watching the PunkBordello podcast. I want to thank you for being here, and I also want to mention that the next song that we release is called Hotter. It releases on all streaming platforms May 6th of 2025, and you can find that early before release for $5 on Bandcamp. You can listen to it about 3 times before you'll hit a paywall. But that's just fair game. If you want to see it and download it before it releases, you can give us $5 or whatever you want to support the podcast, to support us as a band. And then you can also do the same with the next release, Take the L, which normally would be like June 16th. And that one would be $10 or pay what you want whenever or whatever you want to throw our way. But we want to thank you for being here, listening to the local underground artists, the heart of our city, our country. And when we sit down with this next guest, I really hope you enjoy it. Share it on your socials, help us grow. We have some really killer guests that are going to be coming up, and I'm really excited to do this podcast. So thanks everybody for watching. Keep doing that shit Chicago style, you know what I'm saying? All right. Okay. All right. So welcome to the PunkBordello podcast. A couple of quick announcements here. That intro video is quite dated at this point. I will be trying to make it a point to re-record that and update it, but I guess the first official announcement is that I'm almost done with the record. So as soon as that is done, I'm gonna put the core of tracks of it, I would call, up on Bandcamp for pay what $10 or pay what you want. There's gonna be about 18 songs on it. So that is what it's gonna be, and that's a little bit more streamlined because I can just be done with that, and then things will slowly be added to the streaming platforms as time goes on into next year and all that sort of thing. And then we also are kind of working on some bonus tracks as well as an afterthought. Some of the stuff that just isn't the cream of the crop, but it's still good nonetheless. That'll still be something we release for the fucking next year or 2 years at this point, while we're trying to tour it and do the whole deal. But anyway, my guest today is Samantha Deppa of Witchy Bois. So tell us where this name came from, first of all.
That's immediately the first question people think of. So I just kind of would use Witchy Boy with an I as a username for just random games on my phone. Specifically, there was one where it's just you collect a bunch of cats. And so I was Witchy Boy 25.
Yeah.
And so when we started the band, there was a name that I kind of wanted to go with, which was Challenge Unexpected. And then I was like, oh, but for funsies, it would be really funny if we did Witchy Boys. Right. I just put it out there. And then both my bandmates were like, oh my God, can we please be Witchy Boys? And I was like, sure, I guess. And ever since then, it took a while for me to not laugh every time that I said our band name to someone. They're like, oh, what's your band name? And I was like, Witchy Boys.
It's honestly kind of a nice get. To be honest with you, when people tell me what their band names are, I always gotta put some credit on how well it flows. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I always look at if somebody were to ask me how should I pick my band name, I would say can you see a crowd chanting for an encore just by saying your name? You know what I mean? I mean, every worst case scenario, if it's a King Gizzard or something like that. Mm-hmm. I guess people could say King Gizzard, but I think more often than not, what happens is they'll just be play more songs or something like that and chant that. if it's like, genuine. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you either way, but all I can say is Witchy Boys. I heard that and I'm like, nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Wait, yeah, that's a good get. It's like you think of let's see, like what are some of like the legendary band names that you think of and you're just like, how did you not know you were gonna be famous with a name like that? You know what I mean? Like, what can you think of? Probably. I mean, Nirvana seems kind of iconic.
Yeah.
I feel like people heard the name Nirvana and then we're like, whoa, that's different. Before they ever even heard the music, they're like, Nirvana. I mean, there was a band from the 70s called Nirvana that they ended up having like legal disputes with the name about and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, even if you think like early mid 2000s, I mean, Fall Out Boy, I mean, it seems like it would be, I'm sure they didn't think anything of it. And then, when people are like chanting it and stuff, it's like, this is pretty good,
yeah.
pretty good thing you got going on.
Yeah, yeah. So, what kind of music do you guys make?
Yeah, so we are very much like pop punk alternative.
Nice.
We have some screams here or there. My bassist does the screams for us. So there will be some in the EP, but yeah, I would say it's very like focused on like new, more of like the new alternative kind of sound, but also like strips from mid 2000s 2010 pop punk.
Yeah. Well, that is. I mean, that's a sound that's kind of like going around right now. I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot a lot of there's a lot of good pop punk bands out there,
Mm-hmm.
and I really like the way that the trend has kind of gone with them kind of being a lot more groove oriented and just kind of soulful.
Yeah.
There's like these overlapping interests because it's a lot of it is female fronted, so there's like a lot of Paramore influence. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
just like general like kind of like R&B kind of
Yeah.
influence also. And I think that has done wonders for the music because I honestly I've heard so much Blink and I've heard so much Green Day, and
Mm-hmm.
there becomes a point where when it starts to get stale, and I think that's when it's your job as like an artist and kind of like a second or third wave, like because we're kind of in the second wave of pop punk, I
Yeah.
would say, because it died, it skipped a generation, and then kind of like uh it's just you see the resurgence coming back now.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like how traditional punk became pop punk, and there was the whole punk revival in like the
Mm-hmm.
late 90s, early 2000s with bands like Rancid and that whole thing. So to see where it's come now, it's kind of just like it becomes just like this general perception of what a rock band is, and it's very danceable. It's very groovy. I mean, I've been thinking about like doing some Paramore covers in this acoustic thing
Yeah.
that I do. Just kind of like more of like corporate oriented to kind of pay the bills type stuff. Um, but yeah, I really like that direction. So who would you say are your key influences?
I mean, definitely Paramore's in there.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, how could you not have Haley Williams at the top of
yeah.
the list? Like,
Well,
she's
I mean,
fucking
also
great.
like my dad introduced me to Paramore when I was 6. Like the Riot album came out, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Here," and put it in his car, and I was like, I fell in love. So I love everything that she does, and even get her like dye brand and stuff like that. So, um, definitely Paramore. Honey Revenge, which is a newer band
I love Honey Revenge.
that's
Yeah,
out.
seriously,
I
that
love
is
I love Devin
specifically one of the
Donnie
bands I was thinking of when I was going on that whole
so much.
tirade right there.
Yeah, I love them so much. Devin is kind of the reason why Witchy Boys exists at all, because I saw her on TikTok and she was talking about how she wanted to start a band, and so she did it. And I was like, well, I could also possibly do that, because it had always been like in like the back of my brain, but I was like, no, that's not, I can't achieve that. Like I'm supposed to go into
Yeah.
like psychology and all that stuff. Um, and so then when I started doing the band, I mean, I told her many times, I'm like, you're the reason why this band exists, and
Yeah.
she
You know,
recognizes me sometimes, and it's
that's fine. Yeah, that's an interesting kind of platform to start off of. And the one thing I gotta say is, well, first of all, congratulations on starting band.
yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
Second of all, it's kind of like with the way that I've watched the world head, because I'm 28 now. I'm about to be
Hmm.
29 in August, and what I've noticed is that, well, like I was very much kind of like informed on society's uttermost lies. Basically, there's no way to tiptoe around it. Um,
Hmm.
and then I had to kind of live through it and try to live this existence, that is real to, late '90s, early 2000s, babies, and fucking it, you go through it and you have 3 years of your life taken away from you, and then you try to succeed their way, and then you realize, oh, it was never meant, it was always rigged against you, no matter what you did, whether you went to college or not, to
Yep.
be to have all the chips stacked against you. And it doesn't matter if you come from like, a more affluent family or like a middle class family. It kind of like we were all just kind of like set up to fail.
Hmm.
And especially with where we're at now, I mean, it's just, I saw something earlier today that said a great recession indicator is the fact that nobody has the money to want to draw on a music video right now. And that's like, I mean, well, because they're kind of pointless because they're like one and done. And don't get me wrong, I mean, that doesn't mean that you don't have to have that visual aspect. Obviously, TikTok,
Hmm.
Instagram, and all blah 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 blah. Artists in 2025, but what it does mean is that we're kind of losing out on, because and I'm guilty of it too. I'll just put out like visualizers that
Hmm.
are given to me for like quick download from like a distributor where it just says like listen on Apple Music, or I'm sure that people have more complex ones, but I mean it's difficult kind of navigating through all of it. And the moral of the story that I'm trying to get at is it kind of doesn't even matter if you did go to college or not. Like a lot of people are taking chances on their dreams now because in a lot of ways it's even more like viable, and you know at least you have a potential of being able to kind of do more work and get more in return, as
Yeah.
opposed to, what I mean, just working at any normal regular ass job, because you're never going to be able to, like, they keep you down on purpose. It's all like fucking, psych warfare and shit like that.
Hmm.
It's, that's just kind of what keeps society as it stands perpetuating. And I mean, honestly, I feel like it's gone unchecked for so many decades that like now it's just kind of intensified to its worst. So I mean, hey kids, are you ready to graduate? Like it sucks because like I was never able to like I was aware of a lot of these things and where things were gonna head when I was a teenager. And then when I graduated, it's really hard to kind of like be in someone's face and be like, oh yeah, just agree with your life choices. You know what I mean? Because I mean, it's not even to say that I didn't try to go to college. It's just like, you play the hand you're dealt. I wasn't dealt a very good one when it came to that. But honestly, I'm from post, now I'm more glad that I I didn't, because yeah, I have a little bit of debt, but at least it's not as astronomical as some of the people that I know that did or didn't, even worse, didn't graduate. Um, so yeah, it's interesting, like, because you might as well just like start a fucking rock band, and you might have more upward potential doing that if your music is good and it
Hmm.
truly is like authentic, and you can find your audience and you do the work to do that. Because I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is working at a job that at this point, is gonna fuck you over at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, take a bet on yourself or confide in a false sense of safety. It's like those are your options now.
No,
So
absolutely. I mean, I remember when I graduated high school, I was like, I'm going to get a degree in psychology. I'm going to become a grief counselor. Like, I have all these plans. And then the plans kind of fell through just because, I mean, life happens. And so then I was like, well, I'm going to just have to get a full time job now. And I was like, okay, but that's going to kill me if I only do that and don't really like do anything else that I like enjoy. So then I was like, well, maybe I can start like being a musician. Like I could go to like open mic nights or something like that. And then I did not expect to have a band,
yeah.
but here we are.
Yeah. It's weird because like music is one of those things where you have to do it to get good at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to sometimes, take the L and um because you need performance experience in order to be tenured at performing.
Right.
Right, and that's a wall that is being hit by many people who go viral and then are kind of made into musicians later. Because you can do the reverse. You can have an artist and then short form content them, and then have it move into okay, so now here's the keys, go play live, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so like you could do that, but you can't take a short form content creator and turn them into like a actual musician. And you know what? I think where kind of things are starting to kind of clash is, for one thing, I am well versed in music theory,
Mm-hmm.
collegiate level and all that. It's not that bad. Sometimes I do dabble in, fucking weird. What does this mean in music theory? You know what I mean? What do I
Yeah.
call what I call that? But at the end of the day, that's really just all it is that
Mm-hmm.
what you're calling it. So I have like a nuanced opinion of like the practicality and necessity of using it in general situations. But at the end of this, the moral of the story would be just don't be a dick about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it's wild, because like you could know everything that you need to know, but if you're in a room full of people that don't understand what the fuck you're talking about, how are you going to explain that in a way that doesn't make them feel like you're being a dick?
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I mean
so
I'm gonna call myself out real quick. I suck at music theory. I mean, I was a theater kid, I was in choir, like I've done music my whole life. Sight reading is not something that I am very good at.
well, you see, that's the thing, is that
So
when you're in the rock arena, you're not
mhm.
sight reading, you're memorizing your shit, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean, just kind of fine
Hmm.
tuning it. And the one thing I would say is that like uh, try to make it a point to everybody, and you will be able to assess your level of success with any given musicians that you're in the room with,
Hmm.
whether or not they come to the rehearsal prepared, because there's a difference between jamming and a
Yeah.
rehearsal. And a rehearsal is, we are prepping for a show. Know your
Hmm.
shit. Show up. You know what I mean? And be ready to go.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of people, I've been in rooms with a lot of people who would just be like, "Oh no, I'm just like freestyling, dude," and it's like,
Mm.
okay, but like if we're expected to do a certain amount of songs, we can't just go up there and like freestyle and expect it all to be good.
Well, yeah, and you have a specific amount of time, like
Yeah.
having the different songs, you can figure out, how many minutes is this going to be? And then can we kind of talk in between that? And,
Yeah.
if you just kind of wing it, then you're screwed.
But before I stray too far away from the whole music theory conversation, what I would say
Hmm.
is like, if you don't if you don't sight read, that is totally fine in the rock
Hmm.
space, because I mean Jimi Hendrix didn't even know what he really was doing when
Yeah.
in terms of music theory. He just always had a guitar in his hands and he loved it.
Hmm.
You know? So the efficacy of music theory really comes down to how well you are able to articulate what direction you're trying to take it in
Yeah.
with your bandmates and what you can all agree on.
Yeah.
So, music theory could be like, um, you know, speaking in tabs, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But your drummer's not going to understand that. So, I mean, the nuance plays in, whereas like if you can all kind of understand a baseline understanding of each other's different things,
Yeah.
then you can all come into a consensus on much faster when you're not so figured yeah when you're not so focused on trying to figure out what to call everything.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Because you want to. The thing is a lot of people will be humbled by musicians who don't know anything about their instrument because they're just kind of letting it go and feeling it. And there is kind of
Mm-hmm.
like a middle ground, like, can you really truly consider yourself great until you know what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you don't consider yourself great, why are you trying to go up on stage in front of people? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, but then there's also the nuance where that plays in, because it's like, well, if how do I get great if
Mm-hmm.
you got to be great at performing. Like, how do I get great if I never play? So there's all those different questions that you have to answer. Ask yourself at different points in your relationship with music that kind of take you to the next one.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of times where I thought one thing, and then the reality proved the lesson was in you know kind of the least of what I would expect. So that music is kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. The more you try to understand it, the more you realize how much you don't. So really, the takeaway is, and I've said this before many times, I'm just waiting for the AI that I use to fucking make it a fucking title that I've said so many times before. But it's the relationship between consonance and dissonance at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day. So
Yeah.
it's however you decide to do that. Learning keys will help you.
Mm-hmm.
Learning scales will help you. But if that is what you ride everything on, then you're doing it wrong. Because most of the biggest hits, a lot of it has to do with money. But the biggest hits are like everything within the cage system, CAGE. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Those main
Yeah.
chords, four chords. You know what I mean? Like there is a little bit of a formula to making something kind of catch somebody's ear.
Mm-hmm.
So your relationship to that as an artist will kind of, it won't determine your success level because it's very oversaturated as time goes on and things become more accessible. But what you're willing to put into it is what you will end up getting out, as long as
Mm-hmm.
you keep all those things in mind. So I guess that's just my general advice to you. Anyway, what is the EP about? What are we talking about on the EP? What are we writing about?
Yeah, so we wrote an EP called Panic Attack. The single Panic Attack is already out. It came out on May 16th,
Mm.
but the EP will come out on June 13th. But essentially, it's just about how I was feeling at the time and, crashing out and, being very depressed. Um, Specifically, I had just gotten out of a relationship. I was cheated on. Um, and then I got COVID right after. So it was like
Oh,
it was
that's
a whole thing.
the double-edged sword right there.
Oh yeah. It felt like a triple whammy. Because we had gotten an apartment together and now I just lived alone.
Right.
So like it was terrible. And so I wrote this while I was at work because we weren't really doing anything. And I just kind of wrote down like, I've been so stuck and I've had writer's block for the longest time because of this. Like it took a solid like month and a half for me to start like writing music again because I was like, I don't even know what to put. I mean, it's just going to be a bunch of sad stuff. So Panic Attack is kind of a compilation of that, of how I was feeling then, and then just how my mental health is on a daily basis. I am my own worst critic, So I'm usually going to be a lot harsher on myself than other people will be.
Right.
Um, so it's a lot of like self-deprecation. Uh, but it's, you know, there's vibes and it's a fun time and you can move around to it. And then there are a couple songs in there that, you know, they're a little more positive and they're like, okay, well this is my time to like shine essentially. So
Yeah.
it goes from like super 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 depressing to but I'm good to go now. So
Well, that's good. I too often find the need to do if there's a depressive point, I need to kind of turn a counterpoint, you know?
mhm,
If not in the song, then definitely in the record. Um, I mean, it's difficult because you don't want to sit in your feelings for too long. You want to get up and you want to move on. But as artists, and I mean this like visual artists, people who build certain things, we it's important to recognize that like the art comes from a place of like where we put our struggles with the world and our inner turmoils. So it's kind of a responsibility of an artist to understand how they feel, articulate it in the art,
yeah,
and be able to move on afterwards. And think, yeah, like use it as food for positive thought.
mhm.
Uh, so I definitely it's gonna be a relatable album. I haven't heard it yet, obviously, but.
Yeah, I mean that's what I strive for is, you know, I mean obviously I write from like my experience, um, but it's relatable to so many people because like there are people who are struggling and I'm like, I got you, I see you, like you're
No.
not alone in this. And so the entire EP is just basically like if you listen to it, you're just like, oh okay, yeah, no, I've felt like that. Um, and then you get to like Deadly Nightshade and it's like okay, well now I feel empowered. So
What would you say your favorite song on the record is? Like your what is here? Let me back that up with another question. What is your most? What do you think is the most personal song on the record, and what do you think is your favorite song on the record?
the most personal song on the record um is probably either going to be Panic Attack or Nostalgia. um and then my favorite would be Quarter Life Crisis because I really enjoy
It's a good.
the melodies that I did for that, and it is a lot more positive than it sounds like it is from the title. So you know,
Well,
just kind of like breaking through all of that negativity, and you know, it definitely allowed me to keep going during a dark time. So I definitely enjoy Quarter Life Crisis.
yeah, I definitely love those songs that I have those personal connections with, but I also have like so there's this one song that was the first song that we recorded back in January of not this last year, but the previous last year. Maybe even 2 years ago, goddamn. Anyway, um, Up and Over. It's like one of the more streamed songs of the
Mm-hmm.
catalog. But to me, it's because we originally recorded it in standard, right? So it's to me, it sounds like a fucking Disney movie. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with people that like Disney stuff, but I mean, for a punk band, that's not like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It was like it's even more polished for like Green Day. So we took everything down a whole step, and so I just recorded the demo for the tuned down version of it. And I'm like, okay, this sounds a little bit like better. It's a little bit more like kind of jagged, gritty. But it's still like the Disney movie of the record. You know what I mean? With the
Mm-hmm.
heartfelt moment that stops the show, and fucking everyone's like, wow, so profound. And like it's weird because like the what I'm the vibe that I'm or sorry, the perspective that I'm writing from is just like utter melancholy.
Me all the time, dude.
Here's what you think is a love song. It's basically like kind of what the lyrics are saying in it. And in reality, like, the gets the chorus and it's just like, just hold on, she said, do your best. And like, there's like a positive, it's a positive spin on a very like tongue in cheek kind of attitude. And just like whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like that's literally just kind of like my attitude while I was writing the song, and it's like just funny because it's over this like pretty fucking guitar thing, but yeah, at this point now, like I'm not gonna say I hate it, I hate the song, but like it's definitely kind of the one that I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna play this shit again. And it's funny because it's like the most kind of like widely liked by everybody else. I'm like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if you guys like it, everybody says I can't take it off the set now. So it's like, I don't know. Sometimes it's just like that. I mean, but really it's just because the real reason I don't like it is because I don't really. Yes, everything is still true in that song, and I like connect with it still. I just have heard it enough fucking times,
Yeah.
Like I was kind of ready to move on. That's why there's so many songs on this record, because I've moved on, and then I just like had this fucking like creative like burst, and then just fucking like, I mean, it was difficult to have everybody keep up, but we're tracking like the last of the bass tomorrow, so that's gonna be fun. But I mean, what were some of your favorite aspects about making your EP?
So I honestly enjoyed how how much freedom I had with it, because obviously we are completely independent. So if I wanted to change what song was going to be on the EP, I could. And so with Quarter Life Crisis, it actually didn't exist until like a month and a half ago, I would like to say. It was going to be a completely different song, and then I was like, you know what, I think these two songs sound too similar to one another, and also like I'm just not feeling it. So then I completely wrote a different song entirely in like a day, and so now it's my favorite song ever. And so I always think it's cool too when like bands will be like someone's favorite song will be a song that they're like, oh well, we wrote this in like a gas station bathroom, like just like at the top of our heads kind of thing. And so I enjoy that we have something like, oh well, Quarter Life Crisis, like what, how long did that take? And I'm like, that song literally didn't exist until like, I mean, like 2 months at
Yeah.
that point, and I wrote it at work. So
Yeah, it's so funny. Like some of the best of my ideas have come to me in a place where it's like frowned upon for me to be working on anything but work.
mhm,
Um, and the other time is like I'll get like these creative bursts, and I'll write like fucking like 3 songs right in a row, and then like
mhm,
2 of them will get like shelved for like months while I work on the first one, or the backstock of them that I have. Um, and it's really like, I mean, it's great because it's like cathartic and everything.
mhm.
But then you look back and see like all of these fucking unfinished projects, and you're like, fuck, now I have to finish them. And the funny thing is, like, when you hold yourself to a deadline, um, as an independent artist, it's like, so you have a deadline, and then like you're gonna get like the best quality fucking shit like within like maybe like, I don't know, a stone's throw of whenever you're trying to like be done with it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And you've already picked out all these songs, and then everything just like violently has to get like fucking rearranged because like, but like, how can I not put this one? Like, it's so good, like, right?
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then you just kind of get that like the direction kind of speaks for itself, and then you just rearrange shit to fit what the better stuff was. Um, yeah, I mean, I've got so one of the things with that is I'm also releasing a metalcore album simultaneously right now. The
Mhm.
next song, Prince of Punk. Um, so I've so the first song that I released, the first, second, and this next one that I've been holding on to these riffs for almost damn near 15 years. Like
Yeah.
I was about like 14, 15 when I recorded not recorded these, but when I like first started like playing them, and I just never knew like where they were gonna go or what to say over them. So they just kind of just became like exercises that I would just bust out whenever I wanted like uh be cheeky, like, oh, what is this grindcore shit that you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then fucking lo and behold, the structure kind of reveals itself to me when I'm like just improvising one day, and it fucking kind of just holy shit, this is what it needs to be. Oh my god, it's so clear now, you know, and then it just fucking happens ASAP like that. Hello, are you still there? Oh crap, I think we lost you. Oh no, here we go. We got frozen. Hello, Sam. Oh no. Here. See if we can get her back. Hmm. Hmm. Well, let's see if we can figure this one out. saying it kicked her off. There you go. You're back.
Oh my god.
Well, we've got a little bit to go. We can do about like 10 more minutes here.
Mm.
Um so what I don't even remember what we were talking about at this point. I think we were talking about um the more personal. Oh yeah, what is it your the most personal song on the record, and then what is your favorite?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Um anyway, it's so funny because the phrase just totally killed the vibe, man. We were
I
going.
know, dude. It's my luck. I swear. It's always something with me.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. So, where did you meet your bandmates? We'll go there.
Yeah, so I went on TikTok and I was like, "Hey, listen, I can't play instruments. I can play the ukulele like kind of, but at the end of the day, I'm a vocalist." And so I was like, "Hey, if y'all want to be in a band, like let me know." And I didn't really expect anyone to like answer, but then my now bassist, Aaron, he was like, "You have my bass," and I was like, "Oh, cool." So then we started talking and kind of showed him what I was like thinking. I showed him like my voice memos and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, this is really good. Like, I'm really excited, actually."
Yeah.
And then a couple days later, uh, Midnight Calavera, which is our guitarist and wizard musician, um, he did a duet to Deadly Nightshade. Because I was like, well, this is kind of what I want it to sound like. And then he did it. And I messaged him and I was like, oh my God, that was so good. Like, can you please be my guitarist? And he was like, yeah, totally. The only issue with that was that we were all in completely different places. So we were just like, we would hang out in Discord and send files back and forth. And I mean, even now, I mean, I live with Aaron now, but like Midnight is still very far away. So we still send files to each other. And even with our producer right now, we're just sending files through Discord. So
Yeah. It's kind of nice to see what technology has done just for like being able to work on your own kind of schedule
yeah.
with it, because I mean the hardest thing about musicians is getting us all in the same room and in the mood to work at the same time, and as you get older it only gets more difficult.
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, I would not have met either of these wonderful, talented people had I not, just shot my shot on TikTok.
yeah,
So it
well,
was really cool.
it's good to hear. I'm glad you found people that you can kind of like take confidence in that you're gonna be able to go for the long haul, because
Yeah.
the the true I mean, in my opinion, the true definition of success is just being able to stay doing it. That's
Hmm.
at least what I've learned from doing it all over the country at this point, is just continuing to be able to do it and being able to find your center and find your peace. You know, that's there. It gets quite difficult, especially when you have the realities of life also always still looming overhead. Um, if you can manage to make an income on doing what you love to do, or you're able to just continue doing it in a way that is sustainable for you, that is the true win.
Yeah,
um,
I mean, that's the dream. I mean, right now we haven't played very many shows, but we have a show on June 13th in Champaign, and so we're excited to do that. But that's like our like third show
mhm,
ever. And so being a very baby band and still trying to get our like feet wet kind of thing,
yeah,
um, it is definitely like the goal is to be able to do it full time.
right.
However, that is not currently
The thing
what
is
is
like
happening.
there's a bit of a there's a bit of a process with that because
Hmm.
it's it's not something that just like automatically magically happens.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you think I feel like a lot of people walking into it kind of assume that it's in some way, shape, or form, kind of like the roadmap on like Guitar
Hmm.
Hero, like 1 through 3, where like you just are playing at the next venue and like it just goes up from there.
Yeah, no,
Like
I mean,
obviously that's not realistic, but it's
depends on the artist, honestly.
in order to make a living off of it. For one thing, like if you want it to pay bills regularly, there's going to be a certain amount of give and take with the set list that you pick. Like if you want to be only original musicians, then you got to either create, well, you're going to have to create demand in the first place for anything that you want to do, but
Yeah.
your success level will kind of be determined by what it is that you do best and go all in on. And so when it comes to touring, like, I mean, the two things that matter most are the infrastructure to be able to do that, i.e., a vehicle for you guys to go in,
Yeah.
and just being able to have the chutzpah to be able to, I'm not Jewish, disclaimer. Just the the guts to be able to book all those shows in succession and really just not kind of no fear it, or even if you are afraid, still do it. And you might feel the need to like dip your feet in and see, be able to test the waters of like, who you're bringing on the road with you.
Yeah.
Um, but for all intents and purposes, you think about it in terms of like, if you're an independent artist, well, you're an independent artist, so nobody's going to be helping you book all those things. Nobody's going to be calling you. You have to make those calls. You have to make those connections. You have to reach out into thin air and
Oh my gosh.
materialize
I
it.
don't
And
even get me started on trying to book shows because I have tried so hard, and I even have been saying to place a hold. Like I know the lingo. I'm not just supposed
no,
to ask. Um but I have a full lineup for July 11th, and I'm trying so hard to get a venue to be like, "Yeah, we'll take you," cuz I'm like I have like well-established bands that are wanting to be on this bill with me, and then they just won't respond ever, and
yeah,
it's infuriating.
it's there's a lot of there's a lot of nepotism, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Like, I'm sure that people are kind of starting to fucking hate me for saying a lot of the shit that is on all of the musicians' minds when
Hmm.
that is going around, because I've said a lot of times, said some stuff against cover bands, I've said some stuff against tribute bands, but the reality is that like we're we're supporting people who don't want to take chances on their own originality. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with playing covers, but when you actively dislike other people for being themselves, it's like,
Hmm.
because that's what happened to me. I played in a tribute band, and everybody else wanted to be, fucking Green Day, and it's like, I mean, that's cool if that's what pays. That's what people are paying you for. I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand that, but like to take it too far, uh, and also like, I mean, just, they didn't have any accountability. Like, I mean, it, one of the guys, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that. I don't want to be, slanderous or anything like that. I'm just speaking of my experience. One of the guys, I mean, he started his own reputation for having meltdowns at shows. And these are like nice venues that are like, we got like towels, we got fucking this, we got that. It's like, it looks like a hotel room backstage and shit.
Yeah.
And they're paying us to be there, and the venues, it's like it just gave them, they got a little bit of success with the tribute thing, and then they just I went out and talked to. If you're gonna be, original in any tribute band, Green Day would be the one to do it in, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you would think, because it's like, you know what I mean. But no, these are very like gung ho Green Day fans, and it's like, okay, I mean, I love Green Day, same as the next, but I mean, when my natural voice is just similar to that, and that's why I got the gig, why would I, be extra nasally on purpose to make myself sound worse? Like, whose ego are we doing this for? Because it's not mine. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
fucking singing. You know what I mean? I don't know what to say, man. Like, so I mean, that is the reality of what it is. I'm not knocking anybody for however you get your bag. Don't get me wrong. It is difficult in this industry. And I got no malice towards anyone for booking a cover band or playing in a tribute band, but I do have a little asterisk on that, which is like, fuck you if you are against being original. You know what I mean? Fuck you if you're gatekeeping against like actual talent versus, you know what I mean, like just the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the casual listener, when it comes to, the people that are kind of, you know a musical, they're not, like interested in being a musician, but they obviously enjoy going to live events and everything. Like, if you leave it up to them, the general consensus is that they want to hear of a mix of like covers and originals.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they'll ask for covers back to back. Sometimes they'll ask for, um, you know, just let's hear another original. Let's hear that. Like, you know what I mean? They want to hear stuff that they know, but like, I mean, they don't always just go there to see some shit that they know. You know what I mean? They also, I mean, how are you going to move it forward?
Yeah.
And I mean, I the gatekeepers kind of dropped the ball on being, because there's a lot of nepotism. There's a lot of like buddy in, in and of itself, and it like they're gonna sit here and preach about like their bottom line, and it's like, I mean, but then you have a situation like you're in, where it's like, well, we built the lineup, like we know people are gonna fucking show up, but like now you're just ghosting us. Like, what is this?
Yeah. I mean, and like I get it. Like we do not, like my band does not have the streams. Like we are still very much like working our way towards, trying to do that kind of stuff. But we have a decent enough like following where people would come to see us, and then also the people that we got on the bill, like it would be a pretty substantial amount of people. And so I feel like sometimes, venues will look at like streams and stuff like that, and they'll be like, okay, well, you're probably not gonna like sell a cent with like 120 monthly listeners. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but you got to give people a chance at that point
The
because,
thing is that we're, as artists, we're there. Back in the day, there used to be value in them having at least a little bit of a crowd for,
mm-hmm,
for everybody to have like a jumping off point.
yeah,
But then somewhere in all of that, in all of the craziness of the 90s and 2000s, um, and the waning popularity of rock and the wishy-washy and, the turbulence, generally speaking,
mm-hmm,
pay to play came into fruition, and that whole deal. And then as the internet kind of got more prevalent, like it, even pre-COVID, it was waning. You know what I mean? It was dropping off, and I mean, the hardest part is that the more oversaturated everything gets, the more artists, just exactly like you and me, with varying dedication levels. That's the other thing that's very that makes things difficult, is like there's plenty of people who go out there and like, yeah, I want to be an artist, I want to be a rock star, and
mm-hmm,
then they find out how much work it actually is, and that it's not just about the show, it's not just instant money. It's long, grueling, fucking it's a long, grueling journey of being treated like shit until you put art that is very close to being objectively good, um, on display in a way that damn near nobody can deny. Like, you think about,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? You think about like Paramore, you know, like they probably got some hate. They did, you know, back in the day at some point.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Riot albums didn't actually do really well. They thought it was like a trash album compared to All We Know Is Falling.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that and I'm just like, this is my favorite album of all time. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
And it's in that we find that it's sometimes things just even need more time to like mature and kind
Mhm.
of like have more impact. Um, I mean, it's wild because like most people are not looking for new music, which is difficult. Most people will listen to the same, you know, fucking hour, 2 hours worth of music, all the way from 15 all the way to 22, and then the rest of their life, you know?
Mhm.
And that is kind of what you're up against. You're up against everything that came before, everything around you, and also everything after you all at the same time. And that is, you know, that's why I don't really have any delusions of like grandeur. Like, am I going to headline Madison Square Garden? I didn't
Mhm.
have a small loan of $1 million, so probably the fuck not, you
Yeah.
know? So, I mean, it's either if I'm able to somehow manifest that, it's gonna start from somewhere much more humble, and I'm probably by the time it happens, I'll probably be an old ass man.
Yeah,
But
no, I like my goal is like bottom lounge or something like that because it's
uh,
like big enough that people like know what it is, but it's not Madison Square
yeah.
Garden.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're gonna hit that goal. Bottom Lounge is not that difficult of a place to play at. I played there twice. I played at House of Blues, Chicago.
Yeah.
Um, and I did very well in the bands that I was in at that time. Uh, what is difficult is coming back there and playing there multiple times. And the funny
Mhm.
thing about Chicago, and I say funny, and really what I mean is tragic, is there's so much talent concentrated into the city of Chicago that
Mhm.
it's taken for granted. You know what I mean? Like everybody who comes from here or lives around here is like, yeah, we got the best. It's like whatever. So it's difficult to get people to come out to a show in Chicago because you're competing with so much else on
Mhm.
top of like all the A-listers and shit that make Chicago a tour stop. So your best bet actually is probably going to be it's going to be in DIY house shows. It's going to be the places you're going to thrive are going to be in places that want you there
Yeah.
because they like your music, you know? And so finding that audience takes a lot of reaching out, takes a lot it's difficult to build all those connections. And then they're only good for so long because, you know, somebody doesn't work here anymore, this venue
Mhm.
shut down, you know what I mean? So when you get into like booking wider areas, um, what you get into is essentially I mean you're trying to maintain relationships all throughout the country, and it bringing this situation back to what we were talking about earlier about the booking is that like this is why nepotism is bad is because like you if you're not actually considering the art and the scene that people are building and bringing to you, then you're fucking yourself out of money over an
Mhm.
easy trip. You know what I mean? Over my friend's got like the best this, that, or the other thing, and then he
Mhm.
goes up there and he fucking can't sing a note in key, or he's too drunk to fucking stand, or some shit like that. You know what I mean? That ruins it for everybody. You know what I mean? It really does, and it's really important for us all to kind of collectively get the fuck over ourselves, and I mean artists too, because there's still a lot of people who it you know they get a little too full of themselves. They're not respectful to the staff. The bottom line is, you know, you should be respectful to the staff at your shows,
Yeah.
respectful to the fans, respectful to the door guy, respectful to the fucking because this is if COVID taught us everything, live music is it's a it's a privilege to be able to find good talent, but it is the first of our rights to kind of just go into the wind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So in that way, it was taken for granted. I mean, Ticketmaster has monopolized fucking everything at this point. So it's really on us, and you know, our collective generations. I'm at the very end of millennial, I guess. I don't know. Someone told me.
Mm.
I was like, I thought I was Gen Z, and they're like, nah, you're like very young millennial, and I'm like, it changes every time I talk to someone new, but
Yeah, no, for me, I'm like the beginning of Gen Z because I was born in 2000.
Okay. All right.
So,
Yeah, I was born in 1996. But yeah, I mean, as the year, I feel like everybody just fucking forgot about everybody born in that year. So that's my lived experience. But um, yeah, I mean, the moral of the story is doing stuff more local, cultivating a more local scene will not only make you and your band thrive, but it'll
mhm.
make like the only way that you know these big success you often hear about like the biggest success to come out of a scene, like your Fallout Boy, your
Mhm.
you know, Blink 182, your Green Day, obviously. But there were whole like scenes that support you of, I mean, Nirvana, like Kurt Cobain was fired by the Melvins when he was producing a record. You know what I mean? Like there's it all comes from like an interconnected web of people who still don't necessarily fucking hate each other. You know what I mean? That
Mhm.
at the end of the day, business is about building relationships. And I mean, when you put music and business together, for some reason you get egomaniacal fucking dicks. You know, like it happens.
Yeah.
And it's wild because you'll watch someone pour so much money into like, you know, a release show of something, and it turns out like maybe the venue wasn't in the right location, or they spent a little too much of the budget on extracurricular shit, and you'll watch it just like kind of eat itself, and then they learn no lessons and continue doing
Mhm.
the same shit. And it's like those are the people, when I see that shit, I know I don't want to be anywhere where around those people. I mean, there's a reason why I like my bandmates, and you know, the bands that we end up playing with is because you know, we're all kind of trying to do it. We all share a work ethic, and those are the people that you want to collaborate with because you know that they're not wasting your time. So I mean, with that, I mean, I feel like I've done a lot of talking in this episode. Where you're gonna have to write some more songs and explain it all in depth, song by song, the next time you come on the podcast. All
Will
right,
do.
I'm expecting a full book report. But
Bet.
all right, thank you, Sam, for coming on the podcast. We will put your link to Witchy Boys down below, and I'll tag you in all the social videos that come of this. And is there anything you want to say to the audience before we sign off here?
Yeah. Stream Panic Attack on all streaming platforms, and look for the pre-save link for the Panic Attack EP coming out June 13th, Friday the 13th.
Awesome,
So.
wonderful. You heard it here. All right, take it easy, guys. We'll see you on the next episode.